Thank you for joining me for this rune reading focused on the commencement of the new Tory leader, the new Prime Minister, who we know will take over on the 5th of September. So we know the exact date now for this change. And also it is between two people at the moment, two contenders, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. And the runes haven't indicated which one of those it's going to be, but I constantly want to say she, so I am of the opinion that it's likely to be Liz Truss. And also an earlier reading that I did on the British political situation did point towards a female leader taking over. So whether that is influencing my thoughts on this, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to share the runes with you now. Let me just share the screen. I am not the fastest at doing this. Just click on share and we should be there. And now make it bigger. Excellent. There we are. So I chose 3 for the first row and then 1 to indicate further progress, just in the near future, really. And nobody would really expect the new leader to be given a particularly smooth ride because of everything that has already taken place. I don't think any reasonable person would expect that. However, these runes perhaps indicate more troublesome times, more difficulties than expected. In fact, I'm going to say that they do indicate a greater number of difficulties than expected. And looking at the rune in the centre of the bottom row, showing the situation at the time of takeover, we have Wraith or Rado, which is actually very positive. There is this need, this feeling of bringing a breath of fresh air, of wanting to bring a breath of fresh air. And this is what the new leader is bringing in very much. There is no shortage of commitment. There is no shortage of willingness to adapt to needs for change. But at the same time, the other 2 runes that flank Raid or Rado, which equates very much to the Wheel of Fortune in tarot, it's a very strong, positive, moving forwards, moving into newness, getting everything going kind of energy. And of course, we want that. Many people want great change, and that is seen as a good thing. But at the same time, we have to the left of Wraith or Rado, we have one yo, which can be a very positive rune in its upright orientation, where it is seen as wind through into joy. It's very much about success, about joyfulness, about happy moving forwards. But in this orientation, we are really talking about certainly a lot of problems to be overcome before that could happen. And there is a strong indication here that word I constantly get intuitively is blocked. And I feel that although we would expect it's not going to be smooth within the Tory party because of the different factions, but I feel that there's going to be more factions, more oppositions, more schisms within the party than we at present know. And that these are going to manifest in a way that create a lot of blocks, and also the situation where people are again taken from one yo, also known as Vend. Vend is very much about a turning point. And I feel that that's what many people will be demanding. Many people will say the new leader is not the answer. And in saying that the new leader is not the answer and blocking, that is going to create major problems for the new leader. And as we look at Acre or Airvas, again, this is also indicating that the general consensus will be what we have got now, meaning the leader that takes over on the 5th of September, is not the answer from too many different directions. And I'm not talking about opposition from other parties. I am talking about from within the Tory party to a large degree, but of course from other parties as well. And that is very strong in this reading, and this feeling of, I want to progress, I can progress, I know I've got the right, principles and ideas that I want to put in operation, but that this is being blocked to an extraordinary degree, to a degree that is actually quite exhausting for the new leader. And this is in part because of what they have inherited from the past. Some of the difficulties are well known, and some have yet to emerge. Some of that is on a financial level, but there is this feeling of being unable to proceed that is dominant in this reading. But there is no lack of will, there is no lack of determination, there is no lack of ideas and commitment on the part of the new leader. I am stressing that. But moving forwards, we then have here, also known as algaes, pointing to the left when it is a little bit of a heavy influence. And once again, it largely speaks of that which originates from the past, that which has already been created, but which has to be carried now. And it is heavy to carry. And I feel it will raise the question mark for the new leader, who I stress will not lack commitment, but the question mark of, can I continue with this? Is this something that I want to, stay with, that I can realistically stay with? Or is it too much exhaustion to too little avail? And I know I keep stressing that the leader does not lack commitment, but it feels that this question mark is quite heavy of, do I carry on or do I not? Is this a workable situation? Or, can it be transformed into a workable situation? And what would the price of doing that be, both personally and for the country? So there is a lack of smoothness here, very, very much so. That is the strongest message that is coming through, really, in this reading. The lack of smoothness, the blocking, the opposition, the unwillingness to give the new leader much of a chance, to be honest. And I still feel female with this leader. So I'm going to say, it's going to be the issue of whether she feels what she feels she can achieve in the role, and how much that is thwarted, and how that sits with her, because it is always important for any individual that they take into account the personal cost as well. And when I do these political readings, I don't read on individuals. I read on the situation, because I don't have permission to read for the individuals concerned. So I look at the situation and I apply the runes to that. And of course, then the individual that plays the role, and the role will come up, but nothing about the person and their personal life. This is just the general meaning of the rune here, or algaes. Algaes represents the antlers on the head of the reindeer. You know how they stand proud with their antlers in the air, and They look so wonderful, and you know that they are strong, you know that they are in leadership. Now, if Algis was upright, that wouldn't be a problem. But the fact that it's pointing to the left, it will raise the question of whether the responsibility that has been taken on was a wise one. And that is not a criticism of ability. It is the overall situation, the overall backdrop within which this must essentially operate, and how that is affecting the situation. Because with this, we are always talking about handling that which has grown from seeds that have already been sown. If I was reading for a person and Algis fell in this in this position, it would be telling me that there is a responsibility that was taken on in the past, or a choice made that was very probably right at the time, but now it's time for a little bit of re-evaluation. And when this comes up for a new leader, it is not the best situation, although leaders do sometimes find a way to come through very tough times. I feel that it would be extremely exhausting, to say the least, because every inch of progress would take the equivalent of a mile of effort. And that is not to say that I am suggesting that anyone should give in to the words of naysayers and to those, who perhaps have a vested interest in something else, something opposite. But at the end of the day, this is an extremely trying situation that I am seeing here, and we can only wish the new leader well in their role, and I certainly wish her well in her new position. But again, in the knowledge that there is much that is difficult, even without the schisms and the blocking, there is still enough that is difficult without that. What with everything that has taken place over the last 3 years, it's as though in a way it is coming home to roost a little bit. So that on its own is tough. But it is a new phase, it is a new era. It does have that feeling of newness with it, which has got to be a plus point, because so many people feel that there is a need for evolution, for major change, and that we've gone as far as we can. So whether this can be extended somehow, some way, into a more stable situation, or whether it will need to give way to something else, which I think is the most likely outcome. It is a stepping stone. It is progress. And I think that is how we should try to see it. Thank you very much for joining me for this reading, which was recorded on the 28th of July, so some weeks ahead of the new Prime Ministership. But I felt I wanted to do the reading today, so I got on with it. But thank you for joining me, and I look forward to you joining me again at some point when you feel you would like to.